Good afternoon and hello, everyone. My name is Rich Longo of Flycast Partners. I'd like to thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners presentation. Today, our topic is IT security as a practice. We are joined today by Patrick TK of Keeper Security and Frederick Sears of Flycast Partners. A little bit about Patrick. Patrick is the Vice President of Security and Architecture and has been with Keeper since February 2013. He leads the Information Security and Compliance team and oversees daily operations of the Keeper Global Cloud Infrastructure. Prior to Keeper, Patrick worked as a lead systems engineer on projects for the U.S. government, U.S. Department of Defense. His background includes experience in the design and development of satellite network communication systems, aircraft computing and network systems, meteorological modeling and weather forecast software, aircraft moving map systems, and high availability distributed computer systems. Patrick is a certified information security professional and has over 25 years in the IT and information security industry. Most of you should be more familiar with Frederick Sears. Frederick is the head of our IT security practice here at Flycast Partners. He's been with us to help get our IT security in line with what our enterprise customers are looking for today. He has been in the IT and security spaces with a huge amount of that time spent at Mobile Iron for close to 30 years. So Frederick has been around the block and has quite a few certifications himself. So before we get started, let me introduce Flycast Partners. Flycast Partners offers best-in-class implementation services and training in IT service management, IT asset management, IT operations management, IT security, enterprise service management, and workload automation spaces, all using ITIL best practice. Our professional services team has well over 5,700 professional services engagements, both on-site and remote. As an organization, Flycast Partners has nearly 1,300 regular customers all throughout Canada and the United States. I encourage you to reach out to us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or visit our website and chat live with one of our IT experts Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. They're more than happy to get you those data sheets or white papers, help you out with remote administration services training, or even get you demos or trials for various types of software that your organization may be desiring at this time. You can also email us at info@flycastpartners.com. During today's presentation, we will take questions. So I encourage you to type those questions in the questions section provided in this GoToWebinar platform. Once you type those questions in at the appropriate times, I will go ahead and read those questions off to Patrick and Frederick so that we can get the answers that you desire. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Patrick and to Frederick. Patrick and Frederick, if you want to turn on your cameras for us and show the audience who you are, and we can get this discussion started.
I will be happy to do that, Rich. Oh, so I'm out there. Everybody can see my there's Patrick. Hi, good afternoon, Patrick.
Good afternoon.
So Rich, thanks very much for the introduction. Patrick, thank you very much for joining us today. And really, for the audience, as Rich said, this is really more of a conversation and a dialogue to kind of better help people understand, kind of what is IT security and what maybe you should be thinking about as you're developing or enhancing your practice. And Patrick, I'll throw the first question out to you is, at its core, what should our audience and what should people be looking for when it comes to cybersecurity as a practice, and what kind of wisdom, would you might want to impart on those folks?
Yeah, so a lot of times people focus on, when they think of cybersecurity, they think of antivirus, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, all these technical solutions that you can purchase and put out there. And really, at the end of the day, what a lot of people forget about is the people component, the personal component. How do you get people to use secure passwords? How do you get them to stop them from taking a Post-it note and writing their password on it and sticking it next to the monitor? How do you stop those people from clicking on a phishing email? So I think that the person component, the employee component, is a major thing I think that's overlooked and missed.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny you bring up the password post-it note. Just to share, back in I obviously can't name the company, but when I was in IT operations, I used to brag to some of my colleagues that I could pretty much break into anybody's computer at their desk in about 10 to 15 minutes or less. And it was a very simple matter of, we're support. They always had it. It was, as you said, on the monitor. It was somewhere in the cubicle. All you had to do was kind of just take a sit back, take a breath, and look around what looked out of place on whatever they were posting all their notes. So, as you mentioned, the people-centric part of it, I guess, what do we want to, like I said, when we go in terms of measuring cybersecurity strength, you mentioned some of the people aspect of it. We just started touching on passwords. Maybe can you talk to a little bit about Keeper and the tools and the set of what that brings to the table for users? Because probably like myself, we're managing 25 to 30 different accounts or passwords in various systems that we have to gain access to on a daily basis, everything with different requirements. So what does Keeper do to help people strengthen that posture, I guess is what I'd say.
Right. So, security, the thing about security, there's a trade-off between convenience and security. The
Right.
more secure a system is, or more secure a solution is, usually the less convenient it is. And so, how do you condition an employee to stop using a Post-it note to write their password on next to the monitor? I mean, aside from going around and every few hours looking at someone's monitor to make sure they don't have a Post-it note, that you can't really prevent that. You got to give them a different option, an option that's more convenient and more secure than a Post-it note, not next to the monitor. And that's kind of the problem we solve at Keeper as a password manager, is that we offer both convenience, a convenient solution that is also secure. And when I say secure, it's better than having a Post-it note. It's better than having a notepad somewhere at your desk with all your passwords written in it. And it's more convenient at the end of the day, because we have the mobile applications, we have the desktop application, we have the browser extension, so that when you do visit a website, instead of looking at a Post-it note or digging through your drawer for your notebook of passwords, it's right there in the browser. It's point and click. As long as you've logged into your Keeper account, all your passwords are there, available, and ready to populate the login fields.
Yeah, and I guess there's one of the what I would view one of the strengths of the Keeper security solution. I mean, I'll be honest. Years ago I had a password management tool that I used that was strictly on my laptop. Okay, but as you mentioned, the challenge is we're all walking around today with, it's not just our laptop or our desktop, it's our mobile phone, it could be a tablet, and you just addressed the whole, kind of wherever you are, I've got one master password to remember with Keeper, which kind of puts it in there that it is it's a cloud-based solution that you have out there. How would you, I guess, say, and Rich, this might be a good time to throw up that slide, and Patrick, I'll throw this to you. How can you explain or maybe articulate a little bit more on the technical architecture for those of us who might be concerned that, okay, it's a cloud-based application. How is Keeper actually protecting it, and what levels of encryption are going on, with the product?
So, I mean, that's the big problem with security and cloud-based solution, is how do you make a cloud-based solution secure? And how we've tackled that problem is, because I mean, anything you store in the cloud's in the cloud, and once it's been put in the cloud, it's technically in the cloud forever.
Exactly.
And so how do you solve that problem? How do you make it secure in the cloud, but available across multiple devices? And so how we've tackled that is with what we call our zero-knowledge security architecture. So when the user logs into their vault on their end user device, they enter their master password. From that master password, we derive two tokens, two keys. One key is our is the master encryption key. It's derived from master password using salts and 100,000 iterations of PBKDF2 to derive a key. And that key is used, it's a symmetrical key, so it's used to encrypt with AES 256-bit technology any data or information that the user puts into their vault. So that key only exists when the user logs into their application with their master password, and it never leaves the device. The key is on the end user device, never gets synced to the cloud. So that's how we don't even have access to the end user encryption key. So any data that is synced up through to the Keeper Vault remains encrypted until it's decrypted by the end user key on the end user device. Now this diagram here shows a kind of multiple layers of encryption that we implement at Keeper. Of course, the user has access to their data. They encrypt the data. It is the zero knowledge encrypted data is then synced over an encrypted API. That encrypted API uses pre-shared keys that are used for the Keeper mobile app API to communicate with the application servers, our application servers on the back end. We also implement TLS version 1.2 encryption that allows that's just your standard TLS HTTPS connection that is standard best practice. So, but there's security concerns about how secure TLS version 1.2, man-in-the-middle attacks, things like that. Even some corporate firewalls, outbound firewalls will use TLS 1.2, but that data is being decrypted by the firewall for data loss prevention, things like that. And so even at that point, if that device were compromised in some way, the payload of the TLS connection could be compromised. So we get around that by, one, using our own encrypted API, and two, relying on our zero knowledge encryption technology.
Okay.
So we have a question about this from the audience. Stanley wants to know what happens if the end user's computer is stolen or non-operable.
If it's stolen, it is the data would be stored with the zero knowledge encryption on locally, but unless a person had access to their master password, they wouldn't be able to decrypt that data. Also, because your data is stored in the Keeper Vault, you would simply need to log in and authorize a new device, and then that encrypted data would be synced back down to your application, and you could use your master password to decrypt it.
So there's actually no, just kind of expanding on that one, Patrick, for our audience. As I understand it, the zero knowledge is actually encrypted on the local device at a secure level. So again, it doesn't, as long as that user hasn't unfortunately made the mistake of putting their master password maybe on the screensaver that says here it is, there's almost, I always said we're on a 100% chance, but it's going to be very difficult for somebody to hack into that local vault, which would then compromise the Keeper Vault at that point.
Right, and then also we use KDF2, which it's a very complex, computationally intensive algorithm. So it's going to take a long time for someone to try to brute force that. As long as the user isn't using some kind of dictionary word, then it's going to be relatively secure.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that yesterday. Just again, very honest, when we're talking about the computational power and both the power requirements and parallel processing, if we were to compare it to Bitcoin and what it takes to, everybody's kind of familiar with what it takes to mine a Bitcoin today and the level of effort that is, your security at that point and that encryption is somewhere 50 to 100 times stronger than that, correct? And I'm throwing out 100. It's pretty intensive, I guess, is what we want to do.
Yeah, and we use AES 256-bit encryption technology, and I think I read something somewhere where where that if you were to brute force AES 128-bit with today's computing power, it would take something like 25 years of all of the output of the sun to run the computers necessary to brute force attack AES 128-bit, and we're at 256-bit.
Right, right. So let me shift gears a little bit on this, because coming from a security team and having to do working with internal audit teams, whether that be in enterprises or in with state and local government accounts, and trying to help them feel secure in my career. The password knowledge and everything that we've talked about so far has resonated, but then you get you get on the other side of the team that has to do the verification and the validation. And typically that always involved, okay, as a security professional, I was asked to turn over the password hashes so that then auditors could attempt to brute force that with the old rainbow table technology or other password guessers that were out there in the marketplace. Keeper's got something pretty interesting in terms of their administrative council. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have there's two parts to address that. I mean, first of all would be our Breach Watch product. And Breach Watch, what that does is we're constantly loading thousands and thousands of known breached passwords and breached accounts into an HSM device. That's where we're hashing that data and loading it into a HSM device hosted by Amazon. And then so what happens is when you have the Breach Watch product, it will then hash your password and then ask our Breach Watch service whether or not that password has been breached. And so if it does, you can be notified that your account was breached. And we do this in such a way that everything's hashed in hashes of hashes and stored in an HSM, so we don't have direct access to it. We don't track who is asking for which password. So we can do this in a way that we can let our customers know when their credentials have been breached without leaking any metadata to either ourselves or third party as to what passwords is been breached or what passwords they may have that they're checking in our Breach Watch database. Now, the other part of it is our enterprise console. So our enterprise console gives the account administrators the ability to see the statistics and security of the passwords in use in their organization, and you can identify down to you can get reports on is everybody using minimum 8 characters? Are my employees using complex passwords? Are they over 12 characters? Whatever your password policy may be. And also we give administrators the ability to enforce password policies. So if you have a certain requirement for complexity or specific to your organization, that can be defined and then applied across your entire organization.
Okay. Kind of building on that. I mean, how does this fit in with, there's been a lot of buzzwords thrown out today around, zero trust, zero knowledge. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but how does Keeper, how does this fit into that overall plan of zero trust and zero knowledge?
Yeah, so we are zero knowledge by default. That's our core architecture. We've never anytime we implement a new feature, we make sure that new feature is implemented in such a way that it is completely zero knowledge. We don't get any data about what users have in their vault. We just know there's a record. We know there's a file. We can't decrypt it. We can't tell you what it is. But also, we implement features in a way that don't leak data. For example, like we have various companies that have their logos embedded into our vault, so that you can have if you have like a certain bank logo, a record for a certain bank logo, that'll show up in your record. But we do it in such a way that it's sent to the end user device, and it's only pulled from the end user device. There have been, you know, other solutions in the marketplace that they'll actually pull that image from their server somewhere. So even just that web request for a specific image gives people, leaks some metadata about what records a person might have in their vault. We don't do that, but we've seen it in other products in the marketplace.
Okay. Kind of a multi-part question here that someone had sent in to me is, you know, organizations that are already established, and maybe, like I said, I sometimes think, and maybe you'll agree with me on this, or the audience, is that change is hard for people. Okay, I mean, we get set in our ways, and we always want to do the same thing because it becomes easy for us. You know, for those organizations that are maybe struggling with cybersecurity values, or you know, or looking to develop an effective strategy, do you have any suggestions for them? And then kind of tagging on to that would be the second part of, if somebody wanted to deploy Keeper today, how easy is it for, you know, to kind of take that first part of the question and say, you know what, we can move forward with this in a relatively, you know, easy way. How easy is it to deploy and get up and running?
Yeah, it's very easy. I mean, we integrate with SAML, SSO solutions, identity providers. We also have a enterprise bridge product that can synchronize with the AD systems. So very easy. You don't have to go create a bunch of new accounts from scratch. You can provision Keeper accounts using your existing authentication systems. So super easy. And you know, the thing is that change is difficult, and implementing security is difficult, because essentially you're making someone's life a little more difficult. You know, and some people think, well, this you know, my job's already hard enough. Why do I have to jump through hoops now in order to you know, not use my notebook to keep all my passwords, or I'm not going to use my browser autofill passwords anymore. You know, we've put a policy in place that you can't use browser. Some companies are doing that. You can't use the browser autofill password feature. You know, and a product like Keeper is once people learn it, once people see how it actually simplifies your life, you know, people are ecstatic about the product. And you know, I use the product on a daily basis, and I know a lot of people who use Keeper on a daily basis, and they can't imagine their lives without it. To not have access to your Keeper would be actually, you know, be going back and making your life more difficult, when a lot of times people thought that, you know, moving to something like Keeper or a password manager would be more difficult. But once people understand the product and see how it actually simplifies things, it's actually, and it's such an easy to use product. I think people will enthusiastically adopt a product like Keeper.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, we've you know, as you know, driving those conversations with Flycast to some of the customers we've already worked with. I will compliment you on this, that the product does demonstrate, you know, it does demo extremely well. It's a very, what I found just based on my experience, it's a very clean interface, and it has a tremendous amount of capabilities. And that's feedback that some, quite honestly, you know, we've spoken to several 911 emergency centers, and one of the challenges that has been expressed to us is that, you know, when come shift time, there are multiple types of databases, and I do not know all of them. Maybe some of our audience can share some of the challenges they have with some, but they've got to log into multiple databases, FBI database, national security database, county databases, as they do their jobs to answer those 911 calls and get information out to those first responders. We were told that it was anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes for a operator to sit down, get logged into everything, and be ready to take her first call. Okay, which obviously produces a delay. When we showed her the Keeper software and actually even showed that auto login feature, you know, they're in the process of right now starting to, you know, look at it and evaluate it. but they're very, I'm encouraged, and I've heard positive feedback from them about what the product is capable of doing, especially when it comes to around some of the shared passwords that they have. You know, they don't have 20 people knowing one password. It's part of a group effort there. So okay. Yep. So hey, to Rich, let me ask you. We've been going back and forth. Are there any more questions that have come into the queue, or?
No, we don't have any more questions. There was Stanley had just made a comment, but you said the key is stored on the computer, not being synced anywhere. I think you may have addressed that though.
Okay.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The key is derived from the master password using the PBKD2 process. It's not stored on the end user device. So when you enter your master password, it's generated right there. If you enter the wrong master password, the wrong key is generated. So as long as you know your master password, you can generate that key on any device.
And
Okay.
audience, if you have any other questions, now's the time to ask. So please send your questions in. We've got these guys here to answer them for you.
Yep. You know, last question I'll throw out to you, Patrick, and it's kind of circling back. You mentioned at the top of the hour that you know, more and more organizations are starting to become people-centric focused around security. Would you, you know, kind of to wrap this up, would you like to elaborate a little bit on that and some of the methodologies that Keeper is using, you know, as they bring that out to their customer base?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be that, you know, prior to everybody working remote, that if you got a new account or a new computer, IT would bring the laptop over to you, and then on a sheet of paper would be your initial password to log in to it. Or if you needed a password reset, it was, you know, something that you could be handed in person, and someone walking from one end of the office to the other. And you know, in today's remote workforce, that's not possible. And so I think that, you know, our sharing feature is a way to address that. It's a way to securely share passwords, credentials from one party to another. And then, you know, also our enterprise product has a lot of flexibility when it comes to the ability to define roles, define groups, and then securely share that information within a shared information within a certain group, and also, you know, restrict the ability for that information to be moved out of that group or shared outside of the organization.
Well, we do have a question that just came up. Vanoth wants to know, can it integrate with the organization's IAM solution to offer SSO?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we support all the major SSO implementations.
So
one more thing I'd like to just add is we recently became FIPS 140-2 validated, certified as of July in 2021. So we actually have our own FIPS 140-2 certificate for our encryption technology that's implemented in our products. So if anybody has a requirement for FIPS 140-2, it's a big benefit. I'm not sure of any other solution out there at the moment that is FIPS certified as a password manager. And also we are in the process of, we recently became FedRAMP in process, and we are hoping to have our FedRAMP ATO by the end of this year.
Yeah, those are actually, if I'm not mistaken, you are correct, Patrick. I think you are the first to have that FIPS 2 cert and the FedRAMP platform, which is really critical for our government customers that we deal with. That's almost the first or second question anytime we sit down to talk to them. It's like, are you FedRAMP approved and do you have FIPS 2? And if the answer is no to either one of them, it's kind of like, you know, we'll listen to it, but there's really nothing we can do here. So that breaks a tremendous amount of that, you know, as I call so-called ice there. So okay.
Yes, it does.
You know, Patrick and Hannah, I want to thank you for your time this afternoon to share some of your knowledge. Rich, if there's no other questions, I'll pass it back to you and leave with this one thought for the audience. You know, Flycast working with Keeper has the power to demo this solution. And if you're willing to give us 15 to 30 minutes of your day, I truly believe that you will be very impressed with the solution and how much easier it can make your life.
Folks, I want to thank you again on behalf of Flycast Partners and Keeper Security for attending today's presentation. Very happy to have you, Patrick. Thank you for taking time out to do this for us. And Frederick, yeah, you're a busy guy, so thank you so much. Folks, if you have any questions about this product or any other services or anything out there, please, by all means, go ahead and give us a call at 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. You can chat with us live during normal business hours at Eastern Time. They're more than happy to chat with you. They're standing by. They can get you data sheets and white papers, help you out with training, whatever your request might be, whatever your need might be. That's what they're there for. Take advantage of them. Email us at info@flycastpartners.com. With that being said, I'm going to wish everybody a great afternoon, a great rest of your week, and thanks again for taking time out of your busy IT days to see what Keepers has to offer as far as security for your organization. And until our next presentation, we'll see you then.